Okay. Well, hello everyone. I've been a little busy, I've been, designing aircraft and stuff, but I might come out with you know, an aircraft. I have to say aircraft because otherwise people might not think too much of an ultralight, even though it's an aircraft, you know. Anyways, I got a good idea. Hello, Doki. Yo, how you doing? Might might not think too much of an aircraft, if it's an ultralight or a little flying thing, but it's highly technical, and it's a work of art, and a lot of background, you know experience, and stuff like that. Anyways, changing the subject. It seems sometimes we're just giving too much credit to skeptics and atheists. We give them too much attention. We make too much of them and stuff. Because for all intents and purposes, they're not our friends. They're not our friends. They're out to get us. They just want to get views off of us and try to make us look bad in the worst possible light. They're not they're not our friends. And a lot of times, we need to put things into perspective because you know take for example, you know well renowned scientists. They're saying, you can get everything from nothing. It's like, how are you going to get everything from nothing? It's not even science. It's not even science. you know and evolution. you know what's the claim of evolution? you know they talk about our sky daddy and everything, and the magic man in the sky, but how are you going to get evolution? how you, how are you going to get written, billions of bits of programming, vast amounts of written programming that's not there? How are you going to get it? you know they got no place to laugh at us. you know but basically there's we're all in school right now. We're all in school. We're all in class right now, and we're working for the prize. Everybody's working for the prize. Not to say you're going to get it or anything, but everybody's working for a prize. But the prize they're working for is basically to have a giant dunce cap put on their head and for them to be put in the corner forever as the dunce forever. That's what they're working for. No, we're trying to determine what's true, what's right, and everything. And it's not to our credit. It's not to our credit, but we're looking for a better prize than that. We're looking for a better prize. You know, you have these academics, They think they know so much more than God, and they demean, God in every possible way they can. They, put God down in every possible way, and they make fun of people who believe in God. And I don't want to get off on too much of a rabbit trail, but half the time people don't even know what a God is. Like people are, somebody was asking me the other day or today or yesterday or whatever. He was saying, it's better than believing gods. What do you mean gods? Can you define gods? Do you know what gods are? Oh, the imaginary, the imaginary things, gods. I said, wait a minute. There's true gods and there's false gods. Or there's false gods and there's a true God. I mean, there's also real powers. There's real powers and there's imagined powers. There's imagined forces and there's real forces. So which one? What are you talking about? And there is no power that's not of God. There is no force that's not of God. All forces, all real powers, all real forces are from God. So what are you talking about? False gods or imagined gods. There's real God. There's real forces and powers, and those real forces and powers came from a real God who is the cause of every force there is. It's like, people aren't even educated. These skeptics, they're not even educated. They don't even know what they're arguing against. They don't even know what they're fighting against. That's what I always said about Richard Dawkins. He has no idea who he's fighting against. You know, George Bond, JWST found a dead star. One side is hydrogen, the other side is helium. How does that happen? They don't know yet. They don't know. Yeah. And it's a tough mission field. Yeah. Doki Doki knows about mission field and evangelizing. He's hitting on me. He's hitting on me. Pretty good, thanks. Okay. Okay. Yeah. It is a mission field. I mean, it is, you know me. It is a mission field. And I appreciate that. But, at some point, it's like, we don't want to be buttering up too much to people that hate God. We need to basically at least understand where they're at and where we're at and put them in their place. I mean, I talked to Mark Reed, a couple of minutes or whatever, and put him in his place. I'm not because I hate it, because I don't hate him. I don't dislike Mark Reed. I like him and everything, but you have to put them in their place. You have to put them in his place. You know, they are what they are. And they're going to have this reputation of who they are forever. You know, especially if they don't change. Yeah, the star. That's a good question. They're thinking that maybe it was a hydrogen star. I mean, I'm not sure what they think, but It might have been a hydrogen star and a helium star that just happened to combine recently. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know if there's any other reason, but that's one possibility. But it's a, I think it's a dwarf star or something. But yeah, that's a, they're trying to figure it out. I appreciate a lot of the work they do because they do a lot of work that's that we don't have time to do, we don't want to do, or we can't do. We don't have the instruments and facility to do it. But I appreciate a lot of the work they do is good science and stuff. And it's very often surprising to them with the naturalistic belief. They believe in a naturalistic origin of physical things, which is circular, nonsensical, doesn't make no sense, but that's what they believe. They believe nature made nature, without a cause, or it doesn't even make sense. It's not even science, but that's what they believe. Um, and it's the same thing with biology. Biology, that they believe that carbon molecules stuck together in all the right ways without a reason. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense what they believe. And they're going to laugh at us because we believe in a higher power, a greater power, a greater understanding, you know, greater ability. We believe in a greater ability, greater power. And they're going to laugh at us, you know. So so what's it going to take? 20 billion years is not going to put more carbon molecules in the right placement. The only thing you're going to get in 20 billion years, or whatever amount of time, the only thing you're going to get is tar. You're not going to get what you need to have for a living organism unless you have intent and purpose and specific ordering and direction. I mean, that's the fact. You're not going to have anything by accident. You know, if you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. And that's exactly what evolution is, aiming at nothing and hitting it every time. And then they want to try to call us out. They want to try to call us out with radiometric dating and timeline problems or whatever. And and what do you think? Are they going to disprove known human history with radiometric dating? Are they going to disprove known facts in human history with radiometric dating? Are they going to disprove that? Of course not. Are they going to disprove known human history with a time light problem? Are they going to disprove known human history with a time light problem? No, of course not. They're just deflecting. They're just saying, look at here. It's red herring. Look at here. Look over here. Look over there. Look over here. Look over there. No, look at the facts. Look at the facts. I mean, that's all we have to go by is facts, right? Look at the facts, which they refuse to do. they're looking everywhere except what the evidence is. I mean, there is a certain thing like rose-colored glasses and you know worldview and stuff like that. It is a thing, but they're not even looking at the facts. You know, the fact is that every continent consists of six mega sequences of consecutive layers of water deposited sediments with animals that were living at the time. Every continent, that's what every continent consists of, is six mega sequences of water deposited sediment layers all the way down to the grade and conformity. So, that's what the evidence is. And then, of course, if something like that ever did happen, it would have, it'd be cemented. The layers would become basically cement, right? It would harden, and then the cement layers. People that work in cement, they have two guarantees, at least sometimes more, but two guarantees. Cement is guaranteed to crack, and it's guaranteed against theft. Nobody's going to steal it. It's ongoing joke, but it's guaranteed to crack. It's like the sediment layers are guaranteed to crack, but that's another story. I'm getting a little bit off, but I just wanted to throw that in there. It is the only reason why things were able to get where they were going. All the animals were able to get to Australia, South America, tapirs in Asia, tapirs in South America, possums in South America, possums in wherever, Africa, Asia, Australia. But in South America, they have a claim to fame in South America. The possums in South America are the ugliest possums that you ever didn't want to see. That's the claim to fame in South America. They're more ugly than North American possums, and definitely more ugly than Asian possums or Australian possums or whatever. Anyway, getting off on a tangent. But yeah, these so-called academics and stuff, you know, they don't, they don't care about what the facts are, and the only thing they care about is just to mislead people, you know, knowingly, unknowingly, they're misleading people, and it's a great detriment to the educational system. I mean, biologists of all people should know better. It's the biologists of all people that should know that you can't get written programming that's not there. I mean, people have, scientists have changed their minds because of the genetic information. That's obvious evidence of intent and purpose. And yet you have people, whoever, Dan Stern Cardinal or somebody, whoever, and they'll be adamant. They'll be adamant that this stuff, just happened to order itself. for no reason. And if you had if you had half of an IQ of what you should have, you can know that information doesn't order itself ever, especially by making mistakes. I mean, you get a given program, a given kind, it's never going to get any instruction to be anything other than what it was ordered to be. I mean, if you have half of a decent IQ, and these IQ, the big-headed academics think they know more than God, and they're just trying to prove an impossibility. They're teaching nonsense. They're teaching nonsense to people, to kids. It's like, this stuff's not right. I mean, you got to call it out for what it is. I always say they're, object credit givers, which is what they are, object credit givers, but because they're giving credit to mindless matter that mindless matter doesn't deserve. That's a false God. That's a false power. That's a imagined God. And, and they're trying to accuse us of imagining gods. No, they are the ones that imagine false powers and false abilities when it doesn't even have a reason, and which is totally nonsensical. But anyway, I thank everybody for participating and so forth. But just I don't know. I just think that people are like trying to be friends with these skeptics and atheists, and they are. I mean, there's reason for it. I mean, but just just be aware, keep in the back of your mind that they have no interest in you. They have no goodwill toward you. They don't want what's good for you. All they want is to gain views and to make fun of us and to maybe make some money or get some kicks out of us. That's all they want. They don't. They're not serious. They're not serious interlocutor. They're not serious at all. They can't possibly be serious, interlocutors or debaters, or they can't possibly be serious. Sure, they're deceived. They deceive themselves and they deceive everybody else. Yeah, but it comes to a point where they're not looking at the facts. I mean, they're just not looking at. They're not looking at because how long have they been around with us? How long have they been talking to us? And they keep coming back and keep coming back and keep coming back and talking all this nonsense. And what about this? And what about that? And what about God is a bad God? What about God is awful? God is horrible. God is this. God is that. They can't be serious. It's like if sin was a problem, why are they sinful? If there's a problem with sin, why are people sinful? Obviously we're being judged for a sin. Obviously, because a holy God can't stand our sin. You know, we're dying because it's what we deserve. Everybody dies, everybody has died because it's what they deserve. And besides the fact that God is able and will raise everyone up again anyway. So they don't have any argument. They don't have anything against God. God is going to sanctify his name. God's name is holy. So Alec, hello. Spot on. They're all trolls and they won't change. It's a fun and games to them. Yep. It's like, I'm all for like being sympathetic. I'm all for understanding, people's lack of education, lack of common sense and everything. I'm all for that. But, it gets to a certain point where they don't care. They don't care about what the facts are. They don't care about what the obvious truth is. They don't care about what the reality is. And they're just basically trolling, for the sake of views or for the sake of attention or whatever. But they're not serious. They're not serious about what the facts are. Because if they were serious about what the facts are, they would look at the facts, which is the known human history, which is no older than 5,000 years going back to the birth of Noah. Every ancient calendar only goes back 5,000 years, which happens to be the birth of Noah. More or less, give or take, whatever. The only calendar that goes back more, which is the Jewish calendar, goes back, 6,000 something years. And that's probably got mistakes too, but the only calendar that you could contrive is that of the Bible, which goes back 6,000 years and not 5,000 years. Every ancient historical record, every ancient genealogy, every ancient calendar goes back 5,000 years. Whether it's Hindu, Mayan, Egyptian, Chinese, whatever, they all go back 5,000 years. I think the oldest one is the Hindu, 5,000 years or a little more or whatever. So these people, they're not serious about the facts. They're not serious about the facts of geology, which is evidence of the global flood. They're not serious about any of the facts. The facts of the problem of sin. The problem of sin is not God's problem, it's our problem. The problem of sin is our problem. It's not a problem for God. It's our problem. And it doesn't even make sense. It's like you're going to blame God for what we caused, what we did. Say God killed babies and thousands or millions of people or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, probably maybe it was about time, for God to bring judgment. Because God is long suffering. If you read the Old Testament, there's probably more love in the Old Testament than there is judgment. I mean, if you actually read the Old Testament, it's all about love. God loves his people. God loves Israel. God loves everyone. God even loves Egypt. God loves the foreigners. And that's in the Old Testament. All you have to do is read it. There's fake dates. Okay, there's a link to the article. Yeah. Okay. Fake dates, fake fossils, fake fossil finds, biology, fake cosmology, fake physics, frauds of the government, grants funded to universities. Yeah, I mean, it's the foundation. It's the foundation that's all wrong. If they don't have the fundamentals, if they don't have the fundamental truths, they're going to be wrong. They're going to be off on everything. All of their conclusions are going to be false. All their conclusions are going to be wrong because they don't start with a good foundation or the factual foundation. They don't start out with the truth, so they're going to end up with nonsense, which is what they do all the time. And then, yeah, then there's money, love of money and stuff gets in the way. People get blinded, blinded by the light, you might say, blinded by the money. But and yet, people that tell the truth, make themselves a target. There's even, proverbs that talk about it. The righteous make themselves a target. See, Caltech, of course, it's nonsense. I wonder why MIT is involved because in a class action lawsuit against the boy that created an electricity dampener that saved electricity cost. Okay. There's all kind of stuff going on for sure. But even simple stuff like general relativity. General relativity can explain why we could see distant starlight. It's like I start having discussions with people about the general relativity and stuff, and they said, yeah, but there's no gravity. Gravity falls off once you get outside of a galaxy. Gravity doesn't have any effect. I said, oh, thanks for that, because if you don't have no gravity, you don't have any slowing down of time and you don't have any contraction of distance. So thank you for that. That means, the distance isn't actually as far, and the time it takes to pass through, for light to pass through a distance that's not as far, travels at a higher rate of speed. And that's why we can see distant starlight. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. And then I don't hear back from them. Then they be quiet, and I don't hear back from them ever. Never hear anything back. Okay. E equals mc squared is a farce. Well, it's not actually E equals mc squared. It's some other factors in the equation. But if you want to go by the equation of general relativity, if you want to go by the observations of general relativity, if you want to be held by that standard, it has ramifications. It has significance, or it has consequences in science or in your observation that light arrives faster because it's traveling a shorter distance and it's running at a faster rate of time. I mean, they measure the superluminal motion of plasma jets shooting out from galaxies. They measured it being 7 times the speed of light. Now, obviously, it's not going 7 times the speed of light. Obviously, there's something wrong with their calculations. Their measures of distance that they're using to measure the distance and the rate of time is off. Obviously. Now, if they use that, you know, that superluminal motion to calibrate their measures of time and distance, they'd have a better understanding of what's going on in outer space. Because if there's no matter to slow down time and there's no matter to contract distance, it means the distance is not contracted, it's less distance, less contracted distance, and it's a faster rate of time, meaning that, if there's two parameters to measure the speed of light with. That's distance and time. If you mess with those two parameters of distance and time, you're going to mess with the speed of light. It's that simple. And if those two parameters are complementary each other to make the speed of light faster, it's going to make the speed of light faster, which it is, which I would think, logically, I would think, well, you take away one, you take away from one and you're going to give to the other. But no, both distance is not contracted without matter, and the rate of time is faster. Both together make the speed of light faster in our line of sight between galaxies. It actually makes light travel faster relative to our rates and measures of time and distance. So in other words, while we're going through 6,000 years, light traveling through empty space is passing through 13.8 billion years. And that's, it's totally possible at the same time in the same universe. I mean, that's what general relativity predicts. It's exactly what general relativity predicts, is that time is going to go pass by faster and distance is going to be not as contracted, meaning that light will travel faster, traveling less distance. Not only is traveling less distance than from where we are, but it's also traveling at a faster rate of time, making it even worse. I mean, if you go by their observations of relativity, it still stands. Nikola Tesla called Einstein a dummy, although Tesla ruined himself for trusting a distant relative of mine, J.P. Morgan, John Pierre Morgan Sr. He robbed Tesla. Yeah, it's he got kind of like taken advantage of or whatever. But I would hesitate to say that he was all that. I mean, he had some ideas and stuff, some good ideas, AC as opposed to DC and stuff like that. He has some good ideas, but everybody can't be everything, you know. And J.P. Morgan was the money man. He was the man with the money. So he was the one that determined, what went or what passes and what didn't pass. But it doesn't make it true. Uh, I mean, turned out that the AC is better for long distance than DC. DC, of course, is okay for short distances, but if you're dealing with solar panels, DC is good, for short distance, but it has to be a higher voltage. You have to go with a higher voltage for DC, and then you got to step it down to a voltage where we can use, which is AC 120 or 240, which is another rabbit hole, but let's see. Cell phones, the Tesla coil, free energy, electric cars, etc. Yep. Yeah, he had some good ideas, and he was probably not given credit enough for his ideas, that he might have been ripped off. It's a good possibility. Which is, it's not too happy of a story, but it's the story of humanity, basically. It's like, maybe I should get more credit than what I'm given. I got some good ideas. The earth broke apart in the days of Peleg. Centrifugal force. Once it broke apart, centrifugal force made it all the continents move up into the Arctic, freezing the mammoths, causing tsunamis, burying ecosystems, and burying everything that it was. I mean, and anything, like cement, anything that hardens like cement is guaranteed to break. The other guarantee is that nobody's going to steal it. It's a standing joke among people that pour concrete. Guaranteed to crack, and guaranteed nobody's going to steal it. I got a few ideas, a few ideas. And one of the best ideas I think I probably have is in genetics, because the out of Africa is exactly backwards, since Ham is the youngest son of Noah and not the oldest. The oldest is the ancestor of Eurasians. He's the oldest son of Noah, and so it's the genetic markers that they have linking the out of Africa to Eurasians through Semitics is exactly the opposite, since the Eurasians are the oldest, most original genome, and then the Semitics, and then Hamitic is the youngest son, so that would be the least original uh, lineage. In other words, with the most mutations, deviating from the original. So, it works out great too, because the colon modal haplotype is J1P58. The descendants of Judah or J2, probably J1M172. J2M172. It's hard to keep this stuff straight, but and it, but that identifies the descendants of Arphaxad or Arpachshad, which is the progenitor or ancestor of all Hebrews and Arabs. And we know that all Hebrews and Arabs have a J1 or a J2. I mean, that's kind of obvious. It should be. But anyways, that's the start. And Arphaxad or Arpachshad has a S&P marker in common with his uncle Japheth and his descendants. The descendants of Japheth share an S&P marker with the descendants of Arpachshad, who is the oldest son of Shem, which is possible because he's the oldest son of Shem. It's possible for Arpachshad to share, and his descendants to share a genetic marker with his uncle Japheth, while Arpachshad's younger brothers do not share it. And each one has their own marker that the other one doesn't have. In other words, Elam has a genetic marker. It's FGH marker that G doesn't have, and G has the FG that F doesn't have, and F has a marker that G doesn't have. So they were actually gaining markers from right to left instead of from left to right, or they're actually losing markers because Elam doesn't have the marker of his older brother Arpachshad. Asher doesn't have the marker that Elam has, and Aram doesn't have the marker that the Assyrians have, or Asher has. So it's hard to keep all this stuff straight, but that's the way it works, I mean, it actually confirms the biblical narrative with the S&P markers if you understand that it's which way the lineage is going, instead of gaining the marker from left to right, from Ham to Japheth. It's losing a marker from Japheth to Ham. And of course, once you get to Ham, he's the odd one out. His descendants are the odd ones out from the rest of the world. In other words, they lost a marker what the rest of the world has. So it works out pretty good. And if they were honest and did studies the way they should be doing the studies, it would easily confirm that the Eurasians are the oldest, then the Semitics, and then the Hamitics are the youngest. And of course, because Neanderthals have more in common with Eurasians than Africans anyway. So that should be obvious that the Africans are not next in line after Neanderthals. If Neanderthals are before Africans, then Africans should have more in common with Neanderthals than anybody else, but it's the opposite. It's the Eurasians that have more in common with Neanderthals than either the Semitics or the Africans. Okay, what do we got here? I have good ideas. Yeah, once in a while. But I'm open to ideas, if anybody has some ideas and stuff or corrections. In fact, as a matter of fact, somebody gave me the the going idea that it's the tribe of Sinim that is the Sino people in China, which is the D haplogroup. And I said, that wasn't. I'm not the original person that came up with that. That's been like an ongoing thing for a long time, I guess. Probably, yeah. Because the name Sinai is from the tribe of Sinim, the Canaanite tribe Sinim in Sinai. But then they moved to China. At least some of them moved to China, where they have the Canaanite, Hamitic Canaanite haplogroup of D, which is compatible with E2, which is the Canaanite haplogroup in Asia, all throughout Mongolia, Tibet, Mongolia, all the way to Japan. The Ainu Japanese, the Jomons, they have the D haplogroup, which were later sort of displaced by the O haplogroup of the more Asian instead of Hamitic type people. Okay, I guess that's about it. I don't know. I don't think these people are serious. These people that we're having discussions with, because if they were serious, they would say, "Okay, you have a point. Okay, I see your point. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that mindless matter made everything we see." But at some point, you have to say, they're just trolling. They're not serious, and they don't care. All they care about is just putting down Christians, making fun of Christians, and trying to get benefit from making fun of Christians, trying to get views or money or promotions or whatever, when they have nothing. You know, we have to be putting them in their place. They have nothing. They have nothing. Evolution has no evidence. Matter from matter is not science. All the evidence is of a creation. If they believe in a natural cause, the burden of proof is on them to prove nature and made everything we see without trying, which is nonsense, total nonsense. Anyways, God bless everybody. Take care, and maybe see you on the flip side. So God bless everybody. Take care.